seems quite insane that the White Ferns are in the T20 World Cup semi-final, but it's not. And I believe, like, I actually had to do some research because I was working through and I was like, first game against India, they win. How do they perform against India usually? They usually win. Then they lose to Australia. Didn't need to check the stats, but I did. And they usually lose to Australia. That's all right. Then they beat Sri Lanka. I was like, feel like we usually beat Sri Lanka. They usually beat Sri Lanka. And then they played Pakistan this morning. And I had to check once again. How do they usually go against Pakistan? And they usually beat Pakistan. But they did lose to Pakistan in New Zealand last summer. But they are the only two losses that New Zealand has had in T20 internationals against Pakistan in women's cricket. And then I combined the White Ferns T20 international results against India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. And it came out as 33 wins and 7 losses. So the White Ferns, they are dominant against India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. And guess what? They are the 3 teams they have beat to get to the World Cup semi-finals, T20 World Cup semi-finals. And there's still some iffy White Ferns matters going on here. There's still some weird selections. Maddie Green's averaging 7.5 in the T20 World Cup. There's not a lot of whacking going on. No one's got a strike rate over 130. They've only hit 2 sixes. There are some holes that I feel like I can poke in the White Ferns T20 team right now. But that would be a bit too negative, Nelly. We've got to keep it positive because the White Ferns are in the T20 World Cup semi-finals. And that's a pretty epic achievement considering they haven't been a very good T20 team. And again, we got to go back to that T20 series loss in New Zealand against Pakistan last year because they lost 10 T20 internationals in a row. But that was against England and Australia. And if we're being straight up and down about it, a full steak and cheese pie, the way women's cricket is, I think if the White Ferns played 10 T20 internationals against Australia and England, they'd usually lose 8 of them. Maybe 5 or 6, not on a good day because you need 10 days, maybe in a good month. They might only lose 5 or 6 of those games. Maybe in a bad month, bad period, they may lose all 10. But it's not really super duper surprising that they lost 10 games in a row against Australia and England. The issue was that before that, they lost the T20 series in New Zealand against Pakistan, as well as a lot of other losses and a lot of other weird decisions. They have now cracked the World Cup semi-finals, and it's the first time in the last... they missed the semi-finals in 3 consecutive T20 World Cups. That shows where the White Ferns are at. Then you've got this recent period, not the losing streak, but a recent period where they were struggling. And they have, again, there's a lot of nuance here because I don't want to say they flipped it around because they haven't flipped anything around. They are dominant against India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. They have a record of 33-7 against those teams. So they haven't changed that. They've just kept doing that, and that's been good enough to get them into the World Cup semi-finals. And we don't know precisely who they're going to play in the World Cup semi-finals, but their semi-final will be on Saturday morning in Sharjah, where they played Australia and Sri Lanka in group stages, and they'll either be playing, it looks like they're going to be playing England, because England will finish first in Group B by the looks of it. They now play West Indies. That's where we got to hold fire to see if the White Ferns can upset England in the World Cup semi-final, because that's what it will require. But if that will be a genuine like flipping around of White Ferns T20 cricket, because they have consistently been rolled by England. And this is how the women's cricket landscape is. You've basically got Australia and England, and then there's a tier of New Zealand, South Africa, maybe India. I do have a few weird vibes about India. I don't want to, like, I'm not a global cricket pundit, so I don't want to, like, break down India, but I've seen a few weird things about India. Like, they seem to be a bit big for their boots. Whether it was the situation against New Zealand where you had the run out, not run out, they were carrying on, like, a bit excessive. All their appealing, like, borders on intimidation. Like, they're just running at the umpire, and it's like, bro, just chill out. Like, you might not be as good as you think you are. But then I was watching them play against Australia, and India, when they were fielding, they had, like, their squad members around the boundary to pick up the ball and throw it back to their players. And I was like, oh, T20 World Cup, they've got little ball kids. That's cool. And then I saw it again. I was like, wait, they're all in Indian uniforms, but they got their bibs on. Okay. That seems a bit over the top. Like, I'm sure your player can walk another 5 meters to pick up the ball. Like, it's all good. They are professional athletes. They do have fitness and stamina. Like, I'm sure they can manage that extra workload. And I was like, oh, maybe this is just what is happening at the T20 World Cup. So in my mind, I was like, let's just wait and see what Australia does. There's no people around the boundary for Australia. The players just walk another 5 meters to pick up the ball and biff it back. And let alone the fact that when the ball hit the boundary, if the ball stayed inside the boundary, the Indian squad members, whoever, they didn't pick the ball up. So there must be some rules or regulations about their involvement, that they can't touch the ball on the field, but they can touch the ball once it goes over the boundary rope. So all these things are stacking up, and I'm like, and then I remember the White Ferns record against India, and let me be specific here. I'll just have to work through it, pull it up. And all these things were stacking up, and I was like, wait, you guys, the Indian women's team, you seem to think you're a lot better than you are. So I have enjoyed the White Ferns beating them and knocking them out of the T20 World Cup. But yeah, so the White Ferns are 10-4 against India in T20 cricket. That's comprehensive. So you can talk all you want about India being a powerhouse of women's cricket. I don't know if they're as good as the White Ferns are, definitely not in T20 cricket, and that's evidence in the game they played in the group stages. It's evident in their complete record, and it's evident in the White Ferns making the semi-finals, India not making the semi-finals. And I also pulled up the ODIs. The White Ferns are 33-20 against India in ODI cricket. So myself, maybe casual cricket fans, we do have this perception of India, the women's team, as being a behemoth of women's cricket. But I don't know if they are. And I'm saying that based on what I've seen from India at this T20 World Cup and their behaviour and a lot of the goofy things they're doing, I'm saying this with a bit of, I'm chuffed to say this. They're carrying on a bit. Whereas the White Ferns, they just got the job done, went into the T20 World Cup semi-finals where they will probably lose to England, but I'm not fussed about that. We have poked a lot of fun and holes in the White Ferns setup. Obviously, Craig McMillan is the saviour of White Ferns cricket. He comes into the team. First and foremost, they keep losing. And then they get into a T20 World Cup. Maybe it's a big stage Mecca. Because Craig McMillan comes in, and now they're in the T20 World Cup semi-finals. Crikey, Jack.
And he's turned Georgia Plimmer into one of the best batters of the tournament. She's been absolutely brilliant. I haven't seen a lot of the tournament so far because it's been a hectic time for me, as you understand. But I watched the entirety of the Sri Lanka game, where she scored 50 and set up a victorious run chase. And it was like, that's just fantastic batting, It's a little bit of power when needed, but also being able to turn the strike over and just consistently score runs. It's like, this is awesome. And Georgia Plummer's always had that kind of potential, but she very obviously just got chucked in at the deep end of international cricket and was told, figure it out, or we don't trust you to learn this stuff at domestic cricket for some reason. But figure it out at the international stage, and she's been out there battling with an average hovering around 10 to 12. But frankly, it started with that series against Australia, didn't it? When she scored a 50 against them, got a bit of confidence, and now she's carried that into the tournament and it's been fantastic. So yeah, maybe genuinely, no tongue in cheek whatsoever, Craig McMillan might just be a good batting coach. When you think about the period that he was with the Blackcaps as well, was one of their better spells ever in the history of the Blackcaps. A great, it's easy to just look at Kane Williamson and say fully formed product. He doesn't need coaching. He just needs someone to give him some throwdowns now and then. Sure, but to be fair, that Craig McMillan batting coach era with the Blackcaps also had a spectacular lower order. For example, some pretty good BJ Watling out there, who used to be a top order batter, turning himself into just a gritty wicketkeeper batter in the middle lower order. There's some good evidence stacking up there for Macca, to be fair.
I'm open to it. Macca,
I'd say yeah.
All that Macca praise just made me lose my train of thought with the White Ferns. But because you're talking about Plymouth, I still think the White Ferns, for the White Ferns to win games of cricket, it's the big three aren't the most important players. And we've kind of talked through this process. 5 years ago, White Ferns' success depended on the big three. And then it transitioned to, we've got a big four, because Matty Green was dominant. Matty Green is not dominant right now. In fact, it's kind of hard to justify her. If this was an ordinary cricket team operating in ordinary professional cricketing methods, Matty Green will be under immense pressure for her job. But this is not an ordinary cricket team. Matty Green is under no pressure, and that's all good. That is what it is. I'm not here to beat up Matty Green. But then we transition from the big four into a period where I am still believing that the White Ferns win games of cricket when players from outside the big three step up. And at this T20 World Cup, it's been Georgia Plymmer, She is the leading run scorer, and she's got the highest strike rate in the team. Doesn't get any better than that for contributions outside the big three. For context, like, she's averaging 27, 108 runs, but she's played the extra innings, so let's just stick with the average. She's averaging 27, Maddie Green's averaging 7.5. But then with the ball, the second best bowler, the second leading wicket taker is Rosemary Mair. So with the ball, the batting big three of Bates, Devine, Amelia Kerr. With the ball, it skews towards Amelia Kerr, Leah Tahuhu, and because I love the New Zealand spinners so much, I think Eden Carson deserves to be in that mixer. But for the White Ferns to win, Eden Carson and Rosemary Mair need to be playing at a high level. And the White Ferns have won these games with Georgia Plymouth, the leading run scorer, best strike rate. Rosemary Mair, second for wickets. Eden Carson, third for wickets. Like, the role players are chipping in, but they're not just chipping in. I don't know where to take this. Like, they're not just chiming in, chipping in. They're giving the whole. They're giving the whole bucket. They're pouring out the whole bucket. If that makes any sense to anyone listening. As well as Amelia Kerr being the best bowler in the White Ferns team right now. So, runs from Plymouth, wickets from Mair and Carson, they take the White Ferns to the next level. They take the White Ferns to the neck level, assuming that the big three are holding steady, as well as Leah Tahuhu. And Amelia Kerr, like, she hasn't been a dominant force with the bat. 85 runs at a strike rate of 84, averaging 28. But with the ball, she's got 10 wickets, which is the most of the White Ferns bowlers. 4.9 RPO. She's the only bowler with a wicket who is below 5 RPO. Jessica did bowl 3 overs at 4.3 RPO. And you could make a case that this is Amelia Kerr's best year of T20 international bowling. She's played 16 games this year. The only other year in which she's played 16 games was 2018. She took 12 wickets at an average of 29, 6.3 RPO. This year she's got 24 wickets, twice as many wickets, averaging 17, RPO of 7.1. And Amelia Kerr, she averaged under 30 in her first 5 years of T20 bowling. Then she blew out to 67.5 in 2021. She came down to 22.8. She came down again to 19. And this year she's averaging 17. So kind of so her T20 bowling was excellent, had a tough period. Now she's getting back to the excellent zone. And that's pretty good for the White Ferns, considering they are in the UAE, where they have all the spinners have played a game. There is a bit of White Ferns goofiness because they're swapping Lee Kasparek and Fran Jonas in and out. And it's like, I think you can just play Lee Kasparek. But they seem to love Fran Jonas. Lee Kasparek took 2 wickets, average of 13, 6.7 RPO in her 1 appearance. And Fran Jonas, Lee Kasparek bowled 4 overs in her 1 appearance. Fran Jonas has bowled 5 overs in her 2 games, 1 wicket, average of 33, RPO of 6.6. So still feel like Lee Kasparek's a better bowler. But I think it's a stretch for us to say right now, in Sawyer we trust. So let's go with Macca we trust, because
there we go.
It would be a pretty big change to just suddenly start appreciating Ben Sawyer. But for a giggle, we can appreciate the big old Mac dog, the Big Mac, Craig McMillan, cricket coaching guru.
So what's the with Rosemary Mayer? Like, what's the story there? Is he because has she been playing consistently throughout these throughout the 10-game losing streak? Because I think she was in and out a bit over the previous summer. I don't know if that I assume probably injury or something like that, but um it's like, is that the case? And then also like what's because she's trying to remember from what I was watching, she's got a wicked slower ball, isn't it? Isn't that the trick that's working quite well?
It's a trick. Like, I don't think it's the only thing she
Okay.
does. She bowls pretty good gas. She's probably the second fastest bowler behind Leah Tahuhu, and she may be right there with Leah Tahuhu at this stage. She didn't play in 2023. She only played 2 games in 2022, and then she had a good Super Smash last year, so she got a recall. And then I think she suffered an injury at some point of the England stuff. But she has played 10 games this year, 4 of which are at the T20 World Cup. And aside from 1 wicket at an average of 13 in 2022, this is the most wickets she's taken in her 5 years of T20 cricket and the lowest average. So she's definitely useful at the moment to the White Ferns T20 bowling group. And that means, especially the conditions favouring spin bowling. Jessica's only played 1 game. Molly Penfold hasn't played. And I assume Hannah Rose still in the squad. She hasn't played a game yet. So basically, we've got 4 bowlers who have bowled over 10 overs. Amelia Kerr, Rosemary Mayer, Leah Tahuhu, and Eden Carson. That's the core unit right there. And then Fran Jonas is next on 5 overs. With Lee Casbrick 4 overs and Brooke Halliday 2 overs. They both have 2 wickets each. I don't know if the White Ferns have enough power, enough oomph to trouble England. Like, I think their physicality, Leah Tahuhu with the ball, Rosemary Mayer with the ball, and the skill of the spinners, as well as the physicality of the batting, I think that matches up well right now with India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. I think the Kiwi players were just like Australia. They're all freakish athletes. They're all big. They're all powerful. They're all skillful. New Zealand isn't quite at that level, but they're still better athletes than India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, right? They're still more physical, more powerful than those nations, and I think that style of cricket is why they win a lot of games against those teams. But when you come up against Australia and England, I think they just do that better. So it's always a tricky matchup. It's like the Warriors coming up against the Panthers.
Except the Warriors beat the Panthers this year.
I was about to insert a caveat because it's the 2023 version.
Yeah, right. Where the Panthers smoked the Warriors in the finals.
Yeah, and the Warriors weren't playing with their second tier players who were better than the first tier players.
Yeah, that was a.
But like the Warriors under Andrew Webster, they roll out that plan. There's a lot of players cutting back inwards. You work players over. You kick long. You win the first few tackles. You get into the grind. You grind them down, and you can do that against bottom 8 teams and win. And then you try to do it against the Panthers. Like the Melbourne Storm couldn't do it against the Panthers. They did it, but they didn't win. They didn't do it better than the Panthers. The White Ferns, I think they play a similar style of cricket to England and Australia. And that's good against especially some of the Asian teams. I don't know if it's productive. Like, New Zealand and South Africa, I think, are pretty even. And they play a similar style. And then you've got England and Australia who are just awesome at cricket. Like it's just so much fun watching Australia play cricket. Like the women's team especially. Like this the skills, the athletics. It's all fun, especially when they're not doing the goofy stuff that the Indian team did. So yes, shout out to the White Ferns. They're playing good cricket. They're in the T20 World Cup semi-finals. This will change my perception heading into the summer. Because they didn't flip it, but they did flip it. They flipped their T20 World Cup form around because they had missed the semi-finals in 3 consecutive tournaments. That sums up the demise of the White Ferns. And to their credit, they have changed that. It would be crazy if they won the T20 World Cup. I don't know what would be more crazy. The White Ferns winning the T20 World Cup or the Blackcaps winning a test in India?
I think White Ferns would be crazier. But I don't expect either to happen.
Well, let me change it. Level 1, the White Ferns win a semi-final against England or versus the Blackcaps winning a test in India.
Yeah.
And then the next level is the White Ferns win the T20 World Cup and the Blackcaps win 2 tests in India, thus the series in India. So...
What, 1 test and 2 draws?
Okay.
Either way. I think that's almost more unlikely because it means that India won't have won any of the series, like any of the games in the series. Yeah, I think those are 2... yeah, those are the valid levels there. I can't remember when the last time India didn't win a test series at home, or it's certainly at least the last time they lost a test series at home. I think has gone back over a decade, and you're probably in similar territory. But I don't know actually about the Women's T20 World Cup. Does Australia win that one every single time like they do the ODI one?
England factors, they might have something to say. I'm not sure off the top of my head. The White Ferns definitely haven't won the last 3.
Nope.
But we do have the Test versus India starting tomorrow. Do you have that T20 World Cup record?
West Indies won in 2016, England won in 2009, Australia won 3 in a row in between those 2, and Australia have won 3 in a row since and are going for 4 in a row. So they've won it 6 times. West Indies and England have won it once, but it's been Australia ever since 2018, 2020, 2023, trying to go again in 2024. They will be the big favourites, but yeah, England might do something. And hey, maybe the White Ferns will beat them both on the way. Who knows? Just like the Blackcaps are going to win this series in India.
That's it's definitely in speak it into existence territory because both teams, I reckon, need as much positive vibrations sent their way. Thankfully for our positive vibration dispatch center, they are kind of close to each other. You got the UAE, Blackcaps in India, so at least, you're sending your mana waves in the same direction and they can travel to the same area. So that's convenient, weird stuff right
So what
there.
you're saying is if the White Ferns lose their semi-final, we got to get Craig McMillan on a plane to India straight away.
I mean, Macca might help Devon Conway average more than 15 in the World Test Championship, Maybe the Devon Conway slump is the Craig McMillan effect.
Maybe. Did they overlap? And they did. I think he would have been in the comp box by then. I can't remember. But he's definitely slumping, and someone's got to help him out of that one because that's not the form you want to take into India to play against India in test matches where they're really good at those things.
The conditions will dictate this. And all these Blackcaps tests against India, they are at different venues to the Bangladesh stuff. So the vibrant seam conditions and potent spinners that we saw from India against Bangladesh, conditions might be slightly different. Unless it's like a full-on spin cauldron that makes you wonder why you selected one seamer. Unless it's those type of conditions. I have my favorite Blackcaps first 11, not the predicted first 11. And if I was typing this out, I'd just write first number 11 because as someone who types out a lot of shit, I don't like seeing the X1 in New Zealand pages talking about the number 11. Like somehow, and I've tried to talk you out of this, but somehow the XI, whatever it is, Latin sports thing is just the status quo for when you're writing the first 11. Like the playing 11, you can still write the number 11. You don't need to pretend like you're some Latin Roman extraordinaire. Like it's all good. Just type the numbers 11. It's all right.
I think you mostly have talked me out of that. I'm thinking of that. I don't really do the yeah. I like Roman numerals, so I think they're cool. It's funky little symbols, but I also realize like if you're writing, because if I'm writing first 11 and I write out the word first, First, well, logically speaking, I should be writing out Eleven sort of thing. So like if I'm writing it in a sentence like that with the words, so that's
I don't do that though.
Been my trend.
I just go 1 ST 1 1.
Yeah, well then that's consistent as well. Because otherwise you would have to, if you're doing first 11, you would surely do like a Roman numeral of first. I don't know how exactly that's supposed to work, but like you're not mixing and matching your codes there, you know what I mean?
But I understand like if you're in your school's first 11, first 15, that's the other one, first 15. Because I'm writing all about rugby league, you got to write first 15 sometimes, and it's like I don't need to pretend like we're fancy and write first XV just to make myself feel better. I can write first 1 5, like it's all right. We're in 2024 using English numbers with casual tereo. But like if you're in your school's first 11 and you're at a prestigious school, first 11, if you're at a less prestigious school, but you want to make yourself feel better, more competitive and all that stuff, all good. Use your Latin numbers, Roman numerals, because a lot of these schools, they have, also rather goofy, they have Latin phrases like as their motto for a school that's in the back blocks of Aotearoa. Like, I find that completely unnecessary, but hey, that's all good. But at the niche case, when we're typing stuff out, the reader needs to know what every word means. The reader needs to know what every symbol means. And it's ridiculous for me to assume that some kid, 17-year-old Kiwi sports lover, knows all about Roman numerals. Like, that seems ridiculous. So I will continue to use the numbers 11 and 15. But that's just inside niche case there. What I'm saying is, the headline of this is my favorite 1ST11, first 11. Tom Latham, Devon Conway, Will Young, Rachin Ravindra, Daryl Mitchell, Tom Blundell, Glenn Phillips, Matt Henry, Tim Southey, Will O'Rourke, Ajaz Patel.
You know what? That's my one too. I was thinking about this before, what I would like to see, and that was what I came up to. In fact, I think the exact same batting order too.
The the only thing is, you don't want to select that team if it's super spinny conditions, because then you're just rolling out a seam attack with Southey, Henry, and Will O'Rourke. But I think, well, first of all, that's our favourite team, so that's the team we want to see represent Aotearoa in any conditions. Minus Kane Williamson, who's out injured at the moment. But like Will O'Rourke, I think can bowl in any conditions. Southey, not in great form, but I think he deserves an opportunity without the captaincy to show his skills, and I think he's still got some skills, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt to play his way in or play his way out of the first 11. And we haven't seen Matt Henry in a while, so I want to see Matt Henry play some cricket. But most notably, I think Will O'Rourke, Tim Southey, and Matt Henry, they are better bowlers than Mitchell Santner and Michael Bracewell. Just straight up bowlers. So I think you can get lost in the sauce a wee bit, and that's S-A-U-S-E, not S-O-U-R-C-E. You can get lost in the sauce a wee bit and be like, nah, we need our spinner to bat 8 because he's a good batter. Well, Matt Henry's probably a better batter than Mitchell Santner, straight up and down. He just has a whack, and it usually comes off. But in those roles, I'm just selecting my best bowlers. But I can only do that because we got Ajaz Patel, we got Glenn Phillips, we got Rachin Ravindra bowling spin. Glenn Phillips is a certified all-rounder. Ajaz Patel's the best spinner in New Zealand, and Rachin Ravindra is big game Rachin. He can do anything. So I can select my 3 seamers because I also have 3 good spin options. And full steak and cheese pie, the Blackcaps kind of suck at Test cricket right now. However, they have some funky skills. You got Glenn Phillips, the all-rounder. Ravindra's a top 4 batter, arguably the best batter in the team right now, and he's a lefty spinner. Ajaz Patel's the best spinner. Like, this isn't plain Jane Blackcaps Test cricket. This is a team that has a lot of skills and a lot of like kind of X factor players there that helps me design the cricket team, helps us design the team we have named.
Yeah, and I get a little bit tiresome sometimes when people get like I don't know, just overly frisky about your lower order batters. Like, it's been a strength of the Blackcaps when they've been at their best, is they've been able to consistently get like 50 plus runs out of their 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of batters. But at the same time, like, if Matt Henry's batting at 8, you can say that weakens the tail maybe because you got 3 guys coming in after him. First of all, Matt Henry's got a great recent record with the bat, so that's not a problem at all. Like, he's good enough to bat at 8. It's just whether you've got enough batting after that. But frankly, after what we saw in Sri Lanka, like, you know, put the pressure where the pressure should be. Like, let's ask the top 7 to score some runs before we worry about what 9, 10, and 11 do.
Something I have been thinking about, which is aligned with what you're just saying, is Tom Latham. Tom Latham batting. Tom Latham batting has been all right in India. Like, he's got more 50-plus scores in India than Kane Williamson. 5 50s and 5 tests in India. However, this is the worst year of test batting for Tom Latham. So yes, it is an issue of which bowler you want to bat at number 8. Which bowler is going to be the best batter at number 9? But I think it's a bigger issue that the long-standing test opener who has just been past the full-time captaincy in the captaincy merry-go-round is currently in the midst of his worst year of test batting. And by worst year, I mean the first year of his Test career averaging below 30. So that tells you where the pressure needs to be. It's not on the bowler's batting, it's on the batter's batting, and he's the captain, he's the opening batter, and he's not in great form right now. But also, it's kind of the same situation as Tim Southee. Like, everyone's talking about Tim Southee. Everyone's talking about whether Tim Southee should be in the first 11. And yes, he wasn't doing his best stuff. But I don't know if he was out of form before he got the captaincy. Like, I can't remember how that all kind of pieced together.
I think he started quite well as captain. He took a few wickets initially, but those were also, there wasn't a way in the subcontinent. They were maybe more favorable. Did he take? He didn't. Well, he didn't take wickets in the last summer. I would say that, but there might have been a little bit in the Test match, just whatever the series was immediately prior to that. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure he did all right to begin with, and then the wickets stopped happening. To be fair, without him looking like he wasn't bowling well or anything like that, he still felt like he was, and he had a couple drop catches off his bowling in Sri Lanka as well. Like, it's not like he's been bowling terribly, he's just not been getting rewards, but then maybe there's just like an extra 5% or something missing, and that could well have been the distraction of having to be focused on everyone else as the captain, but we'll see. Because Tom Latham is inheriting this at a time when, yes, if you hadn't said that, I would have, because I was thinking of the same thing while you're lining that up. It's like, well, we just had one guy who's a senior player, very important part of the team setup, who seems to have been adversely affected by the captaincy in terms of his individual performances. And we're going to give it to another guy who's not in his best form right now. So, someone had to take it. He was the next man up, but there's a very clear parallel there.
Tom Latham's taking the full-time captaincy in the worst moment of his Test batting career, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
good luck.
It seems like everyone was chuffed to get out of the Tim Southee situation, and we all overlooked that the Tom Latham situation isn't a whole lot better. So I find that quite interesting, but it is balanced by Tom Latham being pretty good in India. But if we're worried about the dynamics of having an out-of-form bowler as your captain and what that means for your first 11, well, we now have an out-of-form batter who is automatic selection material because he's the captain. So we've literally just gone from this situation with the seam bowler to this situation with the batter.
But he's automatic selection anyway, because if you're going to drop an opener, he's still shielded by Conway being in even worse form this year. Yeah. So,
hey, at least Devon Conway's not the captain.
You have to drop both of them. So, yeah, well, maybe he'll be the next captain after this series.
Yeah, so the Blackcaps captaincy requirements are you need to be out of form.
Yeah. Well, poison chalice.
And we'll see if you get better or worse with the captaincy. And I'll say it once again, like, there is no certified, straight up, full banger leader in New Zealand cricket. You can make up your own mind whether that's good or bad. I don't have any opinions. I can make a case that it's a very Kiwi thing to do, to have a group of leaders steering the team in the right direction. But it's also a very Kiwi thing to do, to rally behind a leader like Brendan McCullum did for the Blackcaps, and like a leader like you've got for like Ben Stokes or Pat Cummins for Australia. New Zealand don't have that type of leader. That's why it's gone Kane Williamson, Tim Southee, Tom Latham in the space of like 3 years. You can make up your own mind as to whether that's a good or a bad thing, because I don't want to talk about it anymore because we've got to do some rugby league to finish the podcast.